Prepare for success on-campus exams. Before anything else, preparation is the key to success. Alexander Graham Bell. The content of this presentation is before the exam, key details, the day of the exam technique, the Meercat effect, getting stressed, feeling stuck, and LDC resources for you. Before the exam, sleep is the best meditation, Dalai Lama. So before an exam, have a good night's sleep. The more hours before midnight, the better. Sleep is far more valuable than desperate last-minute cramming. So you set yourself up to be at your best physically and mentally with a good night's sleep before the exam. Without sleep, we can't absorb new information. And during deep sleep, the information in your short-term memory is transferred to your long-term memory. During sleep, your brain replays the memories at high speed, multiple times, strengthening the memories. As sleep improves memory integration and association, interconnecting new memories, creating new associations in your neural network. If you want to find out more about this subject, check out Matt Walker's TED Talk, Sleeping with Science. Key details. The difference between something good and something great is attention to detail. Charles R. Swindoll. So key detail, when and where the exam. Key details will be supplied on GCLearn by individual module teams, and you must check the published exam schedule, which you can find on the link shown. When you get to the page, you click in the area that says May 2022 examination timetable. You'll be given a front sheet, given the relevant details. Let's go to an example page. So you can see the timetable contains in alphabetical order by module title all the modules which will have an exam both online and on campus. There's a column now that says, is the exam being held on campus? Yes or no. And the ones that are being held on campus are also highlighted in blue. Again, you must check your GCLearn module pages for any relevant information. Always use the module code when searching for information on your modules. Note the module title. Some module titles are very similar and could be mistaken. So that's why you should always use the module code. That's the individual identifier for your module. So when you find your module, you'll then be given the exam date and the start time. Some of the modules will show on more than one line, and in the example highlighted there, what happens there is that the class is too big, so it has to be spread across two different rooms. So that is then sorted by alphabetical order. So in the 204 example shown, the A's to the P's would go to C001 and the Q's onwards will go to M538. So the day of the exam. Nothing is impossible, the word itself says, I'm impossible. Audrey Hepburn. So where and when is the exam? Allow yourself plenty of time to get there, comfortably on time. A last minute dash or just too late is not an effective strategy for success. It's not a good way to start off your exam. Bring your student ID card or an official visual ID, for example a driving licence or a passport. Pens, calculators, seems obvious. You'd be amazed how many people turn up for a maths exam, for example, without a calculator. Arrange a day of exam call or text or message with other students so that no one misses the exam. You've all come so far together, so help each other. Because if you do miss an exam, it's classed as a fail and you use up one of your attempts. On the day of exam, keep away from people who panic. It can be infectious. Use your relaxation skills to prepare yourself, and there'll be more on this later. A couple of deep breaths worked wonders. Another thing you can do is imagine how good you'll feel when you finish the exam. So what happens in the exam room? Well, first things first, outside the exam room, on the wall, there'll be a list with all the names of all the students that are taking that exam or exams. There might be more than one exam in the same room. And what you do is you check for your name, and from that you'll get your desk number. All the desks inside the room are numbered. If your name is missing from the list, first things, check you're at the right room, because some exams are spread across a number of rooms. Your name's still missing and you're in the right room, tell the invigilators. They will have spare scripts and they will allocate you a desk and they will collect your details. So what happens in the exam room? Essential allowed items are only allowed on your desk. Bags placed at the front or side of the room. Mobile phones are often placed at the front or side of the room. Your student ID card is placed on the desk for ID purposes. This will be checked by the invigilators. If you don't bring proof of your ID, you will be kept at your desk until a member of staff can confirm that you are who you say you are. So let's talk about exam technique. Technique is noticed most markedly in the case of those who have not mastered it. Leon Trotsky. First things first, check that it is the correct exam. Then read the instructions on the exam paper. How many questions do you have to attempt? How long is the exam? How much time will you allocate to each question? And how will you monitor your time? Most exam rooms will have a clock on the wall. So let's look at an example paper. Do I have the right exam? So as I said before, check the module code. How long do I have? The duration will be given. How many questions do I have to attempt? How many minutes per question? 2 hours, 120 minutes, 3 questions, 40 minutes per question. What's our starting point? Is each question worth the same number of marks? How many marks do I need to get to pass? What is allowed on the desk? An examination script looks like this. It will be either lined or unlined. You'll be expected to fill in the details on student ID, the desk number, the course, the year, the module number and the date. And on the top right hand side is an area where you put in your surname and your forename and your signature. And surname and forename in block capitals. Then you remove the 2 pieces of white plastic and you fold the corner over and make contact with the glue that was underneath the white plastic. Again, read the instructions. So make sure you've not kept anything in your pockets or on your desk that you're not entitled to use during the examination. Start each question at the top of a new sheet. And if you have additional books added in, if you fill up the book you have, then make sure that your student ID is on every supplementary book or sheet. There's also a section where you must write the question number that you want marked in the table on the front of the exam script. There's also a section that reminds you of the mitigating circumstances process, which we'll take to an example now. In the mitigating circumstances process, there's opening and closing dates for submission of the online forms. So let's look at questions. In this case, I've got 2 6-mark sections, 1 10-mark section, 1 3-mark section, or 25 marks in total. The 6-mark section is 1 chunk, and another 6-mark section broken into 2 parts, 3 marks per section. And there's a big 10-mark section as 1 chunk. You look for things like keywords. In this case, keyword diagram shows up quite a lot. And what you have to do is gauge for the amount of marks you've been allocated to each question, how much work you had to submit to match it. So example, a section with 10 marks against it, you would be expected to do more than just one paragraph. So try to use the marks being allocated to gauge how much work you need to supply. Make sure you answered all the questions that you were supposed to attempt. If you have time, double check your answers. Are all aspects of the questions covered? Are your answers relevant to the question? Is your answer well structured? Can you add words or phrases to make it clearer? Read the questions carefully and make sure you are clear on what you're being asked to do. Underline keywords. Circle task words. Answer the questions that you know most about first. However, take care you don't spend too long chasing the last few marks. That's diminishing returns. You're better to use the time on another question and gain more marks, and perhaps you can come back to that one later. So don't get hung up on a question. If you get stuck, leave it, move on to something else that you know something about. Solutions often present themselves when you move your attention to something else. If you have time, come back to the question later. The Meercat effect. If you hear other people start to leave, ignore them. What usually happens is that very first person stands up, the chair gets pulled back, and the whole room, everyone looks up and looks round at that person. And off they go. And I guarantee within a couple of minutes of that first person leaving, there'll be a mini stampede of folk heading for the door. So be aware of this effect and resist it. The exam's only 1 or 2 hours long. What could be more important outside that you must leave the exam before you're finished? Besides, another mark or two may make the difference between pass and fail, between having a summer break or not, the difference between a 2-1 or a 2-2. So be aware of the Meercat effect, resist it, stay and work for you. Common reasons for failure: not answering the question that was asked, going off at a tangent. It's usually as a result of not reading the question properly. So read the question and give the module leader what they've asked for. And poor time allocation. Not allocating time efficiently, running out of time. Are you getting stressed about exams? The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. So remind yourself, why are you doing this? Why have you put yourself through this at university? What's in it for you that makes it all worthwhile? What's your aim? How well do you want to do? What do you need to do as well as you want to do? Now, if you're getting stressed, you can use effective relaxation techniques. One example is the 7-11 breathing, where your out breath is longer than the in breath. And you can try this resource here. Download on your phone, very, very relaxing. There's also Mindfulness, a simple pause. These videos were created by my colleague Ken Rice. If you're feeling stuck, you're not stuck where you are unless you decide to be. If you're feeling stuck, take a deep breath in, a long, slow breath out, and then ask yourself, if I did know, what would the answer be? You might be very surprised with what comes out. So, LDC Resources for you. There's a Prepare for Study video on this web link. There's an Optimise Your Study video on this web link. And there's also the LDC website with a lot of resources. And you can also get support from the LDC via the LDC email address, askldc@gcu.ac.uk. So a reminder what we covered. Before the exam, key details, the day of the exam technique, the Meercat effect, getting stressed, feeling stuck, LDC Resources for you. Any questions, you can contact Jim Canning, Academic Development Tutor, School of Computing, Engineering and Built Environment, jim.canning@gcu.ac.uk. It's better to ask a question than to remain ignorant.